I could have been a Harvard man. Yeah. I mean, maybe if I didn't ditch so much school. But maybe, I think the saving grace to me ditching so much school is that I didn't get indoctrinated at such an early age. And right now, our institutions of higher learning, well, they're just extensions of the of that indoctrination that's been going on for a long time. And we wonder what's been going on with our country. Well, it's because between our education system, K through 12, to our institution of higher learning, look at what people are learning. Despite what they're supposed to be learning, look at what they're learning. And I say this because even at Harvard, a campus of wokeism, you've got an atheist, right? Your prerogative, do what you want to do, but what do you need to be a chaplain for? We've made a spot for an atheist to be a chaplain. How goes it, y'all? I'm Alfonso Rachel, sitting in for Steve Green. I'm with my guy, Steve Green. I want to say Steel Green, because, he's got that steel, profile and stuff like that. Steve Green, my dude, Bill Whittle. Thank you guys for having me here on Right Angle. So, that being said, I want to get your thoughts on this, Steve. We got, this person, he's an atheist. Now, why not be, why can't you just be like a campus counselor? Why can't you be like the campus, psychologist or anything like that? Why is it that you have to be, why is it, I mean, if atheism really have the corner on the philosophy of life, if you will, whatever they, tend to borrow that from, if you've got it down, what do you need to borrow these religious trappings for? Why do you need to lean on religious things? Why do you want to be a part of that? So I would ask Steve, what is the need for this? I thought appropriation was a no-no, cultural appropriation and things like that. What's up with the religious appropriation? What do you think?
Oh man, so many things to say about this. But first, I just like to say that hiring this doesn't matter what your religious beliefs or lack of religious beliefs are, but hiring an atheist to serve as a chaplain, it's like hiring a plumber who denies the existence of water. It's like electing a Democrat to lead a free people. There are things you just that don't go together. Although they do happen sometimes, unfortunately, in the case of electing Democrats all too often. But so I think you're really onto something with this idea of stealing the trappings of religion to promote an anti-religious cause. And again, I don't think it really matters what any individual person's beliefs or lack of beliefs are. It is the necessity that the left seems to feel. They seem to recognize that leftism is even if only on the inside, even if only implicitly, they seem to recognize that leftism exists in a moral vacuum. Everything is relative. Nothing matters. You can do anything you want, particularly to your fellow man, particularly through the strong arm of government. And the only way to be able to sell this kind of thing on a free people, on a people who are definitely more religious than most peoples around the world, the only way to do that is to dress yourself up in the language of patriotism, in the language of religion, and in all the rest. And what it is, it's stolen valor.
Stolen valor.
Okay. I can't think of a better phrase for it. And that phrase started with the panhandler claiming, I'm a Vietnam veteran is where I remember this phrase first coming from. And you're looking at some 22-year-old kid, and this was when I was in San Francisco in the 90s, claiming, he's a Vietnam veteran and he wants my money. And that's where this phrase stolen valor comes from. It's wearing medals you didn't earn. It's claiming service that you didn't perform. It's really the lowest kind of theft, because you're not taking something, an object from somebody that you need or want and can't or refuse to get on your own. You're stealing somebody else's morality. You're stealing their virtue. And is there really anything lower than that, Zoe?
Which is, in effect, immoral. But I guess, with the Democrats or the godless in this sense of what he's coming from, I guess the ends justify the means. And I guess it's a way to open up the conversation. That's, these are some of their justifications for it. It gives people a deeper understanding to the faith that they have. But like I said, I know how that turns out. It usually doesn't turn out very well. So Bill, I wanted to ask you, considering what our education system has become, we know that it's become an indoctrination system from, like I said, K through 12 to higher learning, and people are being indoctrinated to believe certain things, and that's that's the operative word here. It's belief. Beliefs that take people away from Holy Writ and adopting the Holy Writ of science, as even Nancy Pelosi says. Nancy says, I believe that all the answers that we need can be found in science. But whose science? That's the thing about it. I don't have a problem with science. I dig science. Science is great, right?
Me too.
But whose? Whose science? And if we don't have a standard as far as that goes, then even the science becomes a belief, becomes a belief system.
No question about it.
And it's executed religiously. It's imposed on people religiously. So my question is are we being made, are people being taught to become ballot cattle to vote in the establishment of a religion? I mean, that's what we're not supposed to have that. But these things that people are being taught, you have to believe them religiously. You got to go along. Is that what we're ending up with anyway?
Absolutely. I could just say yes, and that's the end of my answer, but fortunately it's not. Here's so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on here in terms of motive when you think about this. Of the entire faculty, staff, and student body at Harvard University, religious belief is required of one person, and that is the chaplain. You know who gets to be an atheist? Every single other person on campus, right? This is the one job on campus, one job out of hundreds, if not and thousands of students, one that requires religious faith, and that's the one that they want to hand over to an atheist. So, why is this going on? Why is it that whenever you see something like the Boy Scouts, it says this is for boys? The left insists, no, if it's just for boys, then we're going to make sure that girls go there. Well, then, okay, if it's all about girls, then here's women's sports. No. If it's just about women, then we're going to include transgendered male. What is it about them that means that they have to be involved in every single thing, politicizing everything? Why? In other words, why is it that they're so afraid of us and we're not afraid of them? Not only are we not censoring leftist intellectual thought, I don't have any interest in doing so, and fortunately, there's not a whole lot of it out there. But my point is, why is it that in that old saw, liberals want conservatives to shut up and conservatives want liberals to keep talking? It's because one of these philosophies, when I say makes sense, I don't mean just conforms to external reality. One of these philosophies happens to be ours, conforms to external reality and internal reality. It's something that we are comfortable with. If this is the way the world is built and this is the way people are built, then we'll just accept that and we'll do our best to make as good a world as we can, because perfection is impossible in everything. So what do you say to these people who have to be involved with all of these things? What they're basically what Harvard is trying to say is that we are now so advanced intellectually that the only position on our faculty that required religious belief is going to be a person who claims to not have any religious belief. Which brings me back to your second point, Zoe, which is something that needs to be said a lot more often than it is. You will hear people, humanists or atheists, talking about how backward and insane and primitive religious belief is, and you will hear people say that with religious fervor. And that's the main point. When Nancy Pelosi, forget Nancy Pelosi, when you ask people, do you believe in God? No. What do you believe in? I believe in science. Now, I'm a guy who likes to split hairs because precision is important in thinking. You don't have to believe in God. But to say you believe in science means you don't understand science at all. Science is not a philosophy. Science is not a philosophy. Science is not a political position. Science is not a moral position. Science is a scalpel. It's like saying, I'm a Jew. What are you? I'm a hammer. What's the point of it? What's the point? I am reminded of Father McTeague's joke to me once. He's a Catholic priest who was I've done some radio shows with, and he said, there's this old joke about a debate between a Catholic priest and an atheist, and the atheist basically says, everything you believe in is just made up and just ridiculous. And then the priest turns to him and he says to the guy who believes in science, he says, "So what do you celebrate? Mass?" I just thought that was kind of clever.
I see what you did there. The irony about Harvard is that considering what it's become now, like I said, a campus that is moving further away from God. That's what it was actually founded for. It was founded and named after John Harvard, who was a pastor. And the motto of Harvard was truth for Christ and the church. This is what it was founded on. The whole point of it was to make sure that those going into the clergy, those going in to minister the word of God, could read. And we know that throughout history, when you have those of ecumenical authority, these are the ones who can read, and you can't. You got to do what we say do according to what we interpret from this book. Well, our country made it to where, everybody's got to know how to read. Everybody's got to know. Why? Not just for learning, history or learning math or learning poetry or anything like that, but specifically so people could learn how to read the Bible. Because that is the God-breathed writ of liberty itself, right? So the word right here, if you understand it, nobody can take control of you. That was the whole point. No, you can't tell me what that word says. I can read it for myself. I know what it says. So, and we have this guy who writes the book, the atheist, I believe his name is Bernstein. Forgive me if I get his name wrong. But he has the book, and it says, Good Without God. That's his book. I understand that, but where are you borrowing your virtue from? As Bill said, when we talk about science, it's not a question where, unless you want to go into the science of psychology or the science of what can be virtue or anything like that, but that's still going to have to be an applied science. It's not science itself. So when we look at this thing and this person is saying good without God, it's like, okay, well, good according to what? What did your atheism borrow that from? Because atheism itself is not a moral virtue. You still had to borrow that from somewhere. Where did you get it? So things like that, it's disappointing that this person has been given the platform to be called a chaplain. As Bill said, this is something that was meant for a person of faith, and you, a person who is not of faith, are wanting to take this talent. You feel entitled to it. What's this entitlement? Is your pride fed? Do you feel like your pride is fed now that you've taken over something, that you're standing in a place that you should not be? So, these things more and more are taking over the country. And the question is, what are we going to do about it? So this is Zoe sitting in for Scott Out. Scott, you guys in your name, Scott Ott, right? I should be able to rhyme that, right? I should be able to rhyme that. Scott Ott, and sitting in for Bill Whittle, sitting with my friend Bill Whittle, sitting with my friend Stephen Green. This is The Right Angle. Hopefully I'll be back at some point.